The vast chamber on Valor Prime glowed with soft blue light. Tall crystal pillars rose from the floor to the dome ceiling, catching every ray and scattering it like frozen stars. Delegates from 217 species sat in wide, floating rings. Each seat was shaped for its owner's body, some wide and armored, some thin and feathered, some pulsing with inner light. At the center stood the speaker's platform. Today it held Calith Elder Voron, his body a tall column of living quartz that chimed faintly when he moved. His voice came not from a mouth, but from vibrations deep inside his form. "Order," he said. The word rolled through the chamber like a low bell. We gathered to decide the future of the Nebula Accord. Everyone knew what this meant. The Tyros Nebula sat on the edge of known space. It was rich with rare isotopes, elements that powered almost every reactor in the Concordance. For years, different species had argued over who should mine it. No one could agree. Then the humans made a simple offer. They wanted joint control. Humans would bring their fast drills, their smart refineries, and their habit of finishing jobs ahead of schedule. In return, the Council would share the output fairly. It sounded reasonable. Many smaller species liked the idea. The tiny six-limbed Fex liked anything that meant cheaper fuel for their swarm ships. The water-dwelling Lyrath wanted stable supplies for their deep-sea cities. Even some of the older races nodded slowly. But the big voices spoke against it. First came the Draxi general, Tharok Val. His red scales clicked as he leaned forward. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "Humans move too fast," he said. "They build weapons we have never seen before they even ask permission. They claim empty systems and call them research outposts. We give them an inch, they take a sector." Murmurs of agreement rose from the armored benches. Next spoke Varun matriarch Silene. She had no eyes, only smooth skin that shimmered with thought waves. Her mind voice slid into every head at once, calm but cold. "They think loud," she said. "Their minds are bright and sharp, always jumping. We invited them to learn patience. They taught us anxiety instead." Laughter came from some corners. Not kind laughter. Calith Elder Voron raised one crystal arm. Silence fell quickly. "We have heard the arguments many times," he said. "Today, we vote. The proposal is clear. Allow human-led joint extraction in the Tyros Nebula, with equal shares for all members." He paused. The chamber felt heavy. "Those in favor?" About 40 hands, fins, claws, and tendrils rose, mostly smaller powers. Those opposed? A forest of limbs lifted. The Draxi benches roared approval. The Vorun seats glowed bright purple in unity. The ancient Calith pillars simply shone brighter. Voron counted in silence for a long moment. "The motion fails," he announced. 179 against, 38 for, abstentions 12. A ripple of satisfaction moved through the chamber. But the humans had not finished. At the guest ring sat 3 human delegates. They wore plain gray suits, no medals, no bright colors. Their faces showed nothing special, just calm eyes and straight backs. The leader was a woman named Mara Lynn. She stood without hurry. "May we speak?" she asked. Her voice was quiet, but carried clearly through the translation fields. Elder Voron nodded once. Mara Lynn looked around the chamber. She did not raise her voice. "We offered partnership," she said, "not charity, not conquest. We know the isotopes are needed. We know the old methods are slow and waste much. Our way would double output in 3 cycles. The surplus would help every world here." She paused. "You have chosen not to accept. We respect the vote." No anger in her words, no begging. "We will follow the decision of the Council." She turned to her 2 companions. They nodded. Then all 3 walked toward the exit ramp. Their steps were even. No rush, no glance back. The chamber stayed quiet, until the doors closed behind them. Then, voices exploded. "Well done," Therokval boomed. "The juveniles have learned their place." "Stability returns," Silene added, her mind voice smooth as oil. Vorin let the noise run for a minute. Then he struck the platform with one crystal finger. The chime cut through every sound. "We now vote on the exclusion protocols," he said. The list appeared on every display. No fleets would attack Earth. No colonies would be seized. Instead, it was careful and slow. First, all human ships would lose priority in hyperspace lanes. They would wait behind every other vessel. Second, trade in advanced human technology would stop. No more neural interfaces, no more adaptive alloys, no more fast-learning translation cores. Third, human citizens would need special permits to visit council worlds, permits that took years to approve. Fourth, joint stations would remove human staff within one standard cycle. It looked like paperwork. It felt like a wall. One by one, the species voted yes. Even some who had supported the Nebula plan now raised their limbs. Fear of humans had spread faster than hope of cheap fuel. The final count came quickly. 201 in favor, Vorin said. 16 opposed. The exclusion protocols are law. Cheers rose again. Some delegates clapped armored hands together. Others sent pulses of joy through the psychic net. The big species felt safe once more. The small ones followed the current. In the back row, a young Fex delegate lowered his head. His mandibles clicked softly in worry. He had liked the human offer, but he stayed silent. Across the chamber, a lone Lyrath floated in her water tank. Bubbles rose from her gills in a slow, sad rhythm. She, too, said nothing. The session ended. Delegates drifted toward the exit tubes. Conversations turned to feasts and celebrations. The human problem was over. The galaxy could return to its old, slow ways. Outside, in the cold parking rings, 3 small human shuttles waited. They were plain, gray, unremarkable. No weapons showed, no bright running lights, just functional hulls. Mara Lynn climbed aboard the lead ship. She sat in the pilot chair and looked at the crystal spires one last time. The huge station spun slowly against the black. Her co-delegate, a quiet engineer named Rao, spoke first. "They really think this ends here?" Mara gave a small smile. Not happy, not bitter, just tired. "They think we will come back and ask for mercy." Rao snorted softly. "We won't." "No," Mara said, "we won't." She touched the console. The engines woke with a low hum. "Set course for home," she ordered. The shuttles slipped away from Valor Prime. They moved without fanfare. No dramatic burst of speed, just a steady climb toward the jump point. Behind them, the council hall lit up with party lights. Music drifted through open channels. Toasts were raised to peace and order. No one noticed the 3 small ships vanish into the dark. No one realized the quiet footsteps walking away would echo louder than any shout. The first weeks after the exclusion protocols passed felt like victory to most of the council worlds. On Drax Prime, shipyards rang with hammers and cheers. Workers polished armor plates that no longer needed human alloys. Officers drank strong liquor and toasted the day the upstarts were put in their place. "Let them sit in their little blue world," one captain laughed. "We will not miss their toys." On Vorun nests, deep in gas giants, the matriarchs floated in warm currents and sent calm thoughts across their people. The psychic amplifiers built with human parts still worked fine. No one worried yet. "Their noise is gone," Silene told her council. "Our minds are clear again." Even on the small worlds like the Fex hive cities, life went on. Fuel prices rose a little. Ship parts took longer to arrive. But the elders said it was a fair price for peace. The humans had pushed too hard. Now things would slow down to a proper speed. Trade routes stayed busy at first. Freighters from Caliph crystal mines still carried loads. Lirath tankers moved water and rare gases. Everyone thought the galaxy would simply forget the humans existed. Then the small signs started. A cargo hauler from the outer rim reported engine trouble. The fusion core flickered. Technicians opened the panel and found the stabilizer coils slightly out of tune. They adjusted them by hand. It took 2 days. The ship arrived late. No one blamed humans. Old equipment, they said. A week later, 3 more ships had the same problem. Then 10. The coils were a human design, simple, efficient, self-correcting under normal conditions. Without regular micro-updates from human diagnostic software, they drifted. Not fast, not dramatic. Just enough to cause delays. On Valor Prime, the Council received the first quiet report. Minor disruptions in hyperspace transit, a clerk said. Nothing serious. Elder Voren nodded. Humans always rushed their work. Our methods are slower, but safer. No one argued. Months passed. The Tyros Nebula became the real problem. The Council had awarded mining rights to a joint Draxi-Caliph team. They brought their old, heavy drills. The machines chewed rock slowly. Output was steady but low, half what the humans had promised. At first, the shortage was small. Reactors on border stations dimmed lights to save power. Cities turned off a few street lamps. Everyone said it was temporary. Then winter came to the cold worlds. Heating grids pulled more isotopes. Power plants burned through reserves faster. Warnings appeared on control boards. Stock levels critical in 30 cycles. The Council called an urgent meeting. Therak Val stood at his bench. His scales looked duller under the lights. "We need more fuel," he said plainly. "Our fleets cannot run dark." Silene's mind voice answered. "The humans offered to double output. We said no. Now we pay." A low rumble moved through the Draxi seats. They did not like reminders. Voren raised his crystal hand. "We will increase shifts. Double the drills. The nebula will give what we need." They tried. Workers drilled longer. Machines broke more often. Repairs took weeks because spare parts, many made with human precision tools, were hard to find. Delays grew. Meanwhile, other systems began to fail quietly. On a Voron listening post, the big psychic amplifier started to hum wrong. The operators felt headaches. Thoughts blurred at the edges. Inside, the neural webbing, thin strands designed by humans, had tiny tears. The material needed periodic human enzyme baths to stay flexible. No one had done the baths in 6 months. They tried substitutes. The webbing cracked faster. Soon, 3 amplifiers went silent. Border warnings stopped coming in. Scout ships vanished for days because no one heard their calls. The matriarchs met in secret. "We must ask the humans for help," one whispered. Silene shook her head. "They will laugh. We told them they were not needed." No one laughed yet. No one had the courage to send the message. On the trade hubs, merchants noticed first. Human-made translation cores had always updated themselves. A new language came in, and the core learned it overnight. Now the cores sat still. New dialects from fringe worlds confused them. Deals took hours instead of minutes. Arguments broke out over misunderstood words. One merchant, a fat trader from the rings of Jex 9, slammed his fist on a table. "I paid extra for human tech because it worked. Now it sits like a dead rock." He was not alone. Station managers sent requests to Earth. Polite at first. "Request technical advisory team for translation matrix repair." No answer. Then sharper messages. "Urgent. System degradation in progress. Human expertise required." Still silence. Some worlds tried to copy the human designs. Engineers worked day and night. They built new cores. The copies ran for a week, then overheated. The human originals had hidden safety layers, small bits of code that prevented meltdown. Without the code, The copies burned out. Reports piled up on Valor Prime. A Calith crystal matrix in a power station cracked. The fracture spread slowly, like ice on a window. Engineers watched in horror as lights dimmed sector by sector. The matrix had been tuned by human quantum beams. No other species had the exact frequency settings. Attempts to retune it made the cracks worse. A Draxi battlecruiser in dry dock needed new hull plating. The old plates were human high-density alloy, light, strong, cheap to repair. The replacement metal was heavier. The ship sat lower in its cradle. Engineers cursed as they welded. The welds were weak. One plate fell during testing and crushed a worker's arm. Word spread slowly. No panic yet, just worry. Delegates met in small rooms. They spoke in low voices. "We should send an envoy," a Fex elder suggested. "To beg?" Tharok Val growled. "To negotiate," the Fex said. "They may listen." Silene sent a thin thought. They walked away without a word. They will not come back for pride. Voron stayed quiet, longest. His crystals dimmed a little each day. Finally he spoke. "We will wait one more cycle. If things do not improve, we send a formal request." Everyone agreed. Waiting felt easier than admitting a mistake. Out in the black, human space grew quiet. Earth turned inward. Factories that once built for the galaxy now supplied only Sol. Shipyards on Mars stood empty. Orbital habitats spun with fewer lights. People worked the farms, fixed roads, taught children. No one spoke much about the council. Mara Lin sat on a balcony in New Shanghai. She looked at the stars. Her daughter, barely 10, asked, "Will we ever go back out there?" Mara touched the girl's hair. "Not until they understand." "Understand what?" "That we were never the problem." The girl nodded and went inside. Mara stayed outside a long time. The galaxy was still bright, but its heart was starting to skip beats. On Valor Prime, the crystal spires caught less light these days. Power rationing had begun. A single message arrived from a human relay drone. No video, just text. Exclusion protocols observed. Cooperation suspended indefinitely. Good luck. No signature, no anger, just fact. The clerk who read it felt cold. He carried the message to the council hall. The galaxy began to feel the weight of what it had lost, but few understood how deep the threads ran. Humans had not just sold machines or code. They had given the stars something far more dangerous: quiet dependence. On a routine inspection of Relay Station Gamma 7, a small team of mixed-species technicians found the first real clue. The station handled traffic for 30 sectors. Its hyperspace beacon had always been rock steady. Now it drifted by 0.02 degrees every cycle, small enough that most ships corrected without noticing. But over weeks, the error grew. Freighters started missing jump points. One cargo hauler clipped an asteroid belt and lost half its hull. The captain sent a frantic distress call. The technicians opened the beacon core. Inside sat a smooth black cube, the size of a human fist. No markings, no visible ports, just a faint warmth. The lead tech, a young Caliph named Liren, touched it with a probe. The cube hummed once, then went silent. "What is this?" she asked. Her Voron partner sent a thin thought. "Human ghost core. They call it a stabilizer seed." Liren stared. "Can we fix it?" They tried. They ran diagnostics from every known system. Nothing matched. The cube refused to talk. When they tried to force a connection, it simply powered down. The beacon went dark for 12 hours before restarting on its own, still drifting. Word spread to Valor Prime. In the lower engineering halls, a team of the best minds gathered. Draxi welders, Vorun pattern readers, Calith crystal analysts. They pulled every blueprint they had. They found the cube listed under Ancillary Navigation Support, Human Contribution, Cycle 47. No details, just a note. Maintenance by provider only. Tharok Vals slammed his fist on the table when the report reached him. They built traps into our own relays? The chief analyst shook his head. Not traps. Just expiration dates without renewal. Across the concordance, similar discoveries appeared one by one. On Alirath Ocean City, the tidal generators began to stutter. The control algorithms, human-designed, had learned the exact rhythm of each moon's pull over decades. Without quiet updates from Earth's servers, the code started guessing wrong. Waves hit the walls too hard. Cracks formed in the coral steel foundations. Families moved to higher levels, while engineers worked in panic. A Fex swarm freighter lost its entire navigation net mid-jump. The pilot barely pulled out before the ship tore itself apart. When they landed, they found the nav core had overwritten its own map data. The reason? A buried subroutine that expected a monthly handshake from a human relay. No handshake came. The core decided the maps were corrupt and erased them. The failures were not loud explosions. They were slow bleeds. A reactor here, losing 5% efficiency. A shield grid there flickering for half a second. A translation matrix that suddenly forgot how to handle sarcasm in 30 languages. Each problem looked small alone. Together they formed a pattern no one wanted to name. The council called experts from every corner. They formed the remediation task force. Hundreds of the sharpest minds. They worked in shifts around the clock. They tore apart human tech wherever they found it. They rebuilt pieces from scratch. Sometimes the copies worked for days. Then they failed in new ways. One Vorun scientist, after 3 sleepless cycles, sent a report that made the chamber go quiet. Every major system shares at least one human-derived component, she said. Not obvious parts, hidden layers, self-optimizing routines, adaptive safety nets. They did not dominate, they wove themselves in. We accepted because their work was better. Now the weave is coming undone. His crystals had lost some shine. Tiny fractures appeared along his edges. How long until critical failure? He asked. The scientist hesitated. Different for each system. Power grids in 10 cycles. Military targeting in 20. Hyperspace navigation, unpredictable. Some lanes may close entirely. Tharok Val growled. We still have our own designs. Yes, she answered. From 3 centuries ago. Before humans arrived. They are slower, heavier, less efficient. We would survive, but the galaxy we built would not. Silence filled the room. A small Fex delegate spoke up. His voice trembled. We could ask them, just once, offer terms. Silent's mind voice cut through like cold wind. They left without argument. They have watched us struggle. If they wanted to return, they would have sent a signal. No one answered. Deep in Sol space, things looked different. On Luna's far side, in shielded caverns, teams of engineers monitored feeds from across the galaxy. Screens showed red alerts blinking in sector after sector. Graphs tracked entropy curves rising slowly but steadily. Mara Lin stood behind them. She wore no uniform now, just a plain jacket. Her hair had more gray. One engineer turned. The Caliph matrix on Valor is at 40% integrity. It will shatter in 9 days. Mara nodded. Let it. Another screen showed a Draxi cruiser drifting off course. Its targeting computers had lost lock on practice drones. The ship fired anyway. Beams missed by kilometers. They will blame us, Rao said quietly. They already do, Mara answered, but blame changes nothing. She walked to a window that looked out on the quiet shipyards. Empty cradles, silent forges. The tools were still there. The knowledge had not vanished. They had simply stopped sharing. A junior tech asked the question everyone avoided. Are we punishing them? Mara thought for a moment. No, she said. We are letting reality teach. They decided we were not necessary. We let them live with that choice. Outside Sol's heliopause, a single human scout ship drifted dark and silent. It watched. It recorded. It sent nothing back. On Valor Prime, the crystal spires dimmed earlier each night. Power rationing hit the council chambers. Lights burned low. Delegates sat closer together for warmth. A new report arrived. The Tyros Nebula output had fallen to 23% of original levels. The joint mining team had lost 2 drills to unexplained failures. The third was limping. Tharok Val stared at the datapad. His claws scratched deep lines into the surface. We built this galaxy, he said. We will not let it fall because of one species. But his voice lacked the old fire. In the quiet hours, Lirin the Caliph technician sat alone with the black cube from the beacon. She had kept it. She ran soft probes over it every day. One night, on a whim, she spoke to it. Please, she whispered. Show me how to fix you. The cube stayed dark. She tried again the next night, and the next. On the 7th night, a faint line of blue light appeared on its surface. One word formed in standard script. Too late. Lirin stared. Then she closed her eyes and felt the first real fear. She carried the cube to the council hall the next morning. She placed it on the central table, without a word. Every delegate looked at it. The cube did not speak again. But the message was clear. The humans had not hidden sabotage. They had hidden how much the galaxy already relied on them, through trust that had been broken. Now the trust was gone, and the galaxy began to forget how to breathe without it. Engineers kept working, scientists kept trying, delegates kept talking. But every day the cracks grew a little wider. Every day the silence from Earth grew a little louder. No one knew when the first major grid would fail for good. They only knew it would. And when it did, the council would remember the day 3 humans walked out of the chamber without raising their voices. They would remember it very clearly. The council could no longer pretend the problems were small. Lights in the great chamber on Valor Prime now stayed dim even during sessions. The crystal pillars looked tired, their glow weak and uneven. Delegates sat wrapped in thermal cloaks. Breath fogged in the cold air. Power had been cut to save what little remained. Elder Voron called the emergency assembly. His voice cracked when he spoke. We must face facts. Systems fail faster than we can repair them. The Tyros Nebula barely produces enough isotopes for essential stations. Fleets sit idle. Cities ration heat. We need a solution. No one laughed at the word solution anymore. Tharok Val stood first. His armor plates clinked loosely. The once mighty general looked thinner. We send a delegation to Sol, not to beg, to negotiate. We offer fair terms, equal shares, open lanes, full membership again. Murmurs rose. Some agreed, others looked away. Silene's mind voice came soft and strained. They will not trust words now. We broke trust first. Voron turned his fractured crystal face toward the empty human seat. It had stayed empty for over a year. No one sat there anymore. Dust gathered on the armrests. We vote, he said. Who goes? Hands rose slowly. A small group formed. Voron chose carefully. Himself, Tharok Val for strength, Silene for mind probe, a Fex elder named Crix for humility, a Lyrath representative in a sealed water suit. 5 in total. Small enough to show respect, large enough to show seriousness. They left 2 days later in the last working diplomatic cruiser. The ship's engines coughed and rattled. Navigation drifted a little. The crew corrected by hand. No one spoke much during the long jump to Sol. When they arrived at the edge of human space, A single automated beacon greeted them. Identify. The captain sent the codes. The beacon paused longer than normal. Proceed to Earth orbit. Do not deviate. Do not scan. Do not transmit until cleared. The cruiser moved in slowly. No welcoming fleet came out. No bright signals. Just quiet space. Earth looked the same from far away. Blue and green. Clouds moved in slow patterns. But closer in, differences appeared. Orbital stations had fewer lights. Shipyards stood dark. No traffic moved between planets. The system felt empty. A small human shuttle met them at high orbit, plain gray, no weapons visible. A calm voice came over the comm. Follow us to landing zone 4. Welcome to Earth. They landed on a wide concrete pad near New Shanghai. The air smelled clean. Birds flew overhead. People walked on paths below, carrying bags or pushing carts. No one looked up at the alien ship. Mara Lin waited at the bottom of the ramp. She wore simple clothes, no suit, no guards, just her and Rao beside her. Both stood straight, but relaxed. His crystals clicked on the metal. Elder Vorin, Mara said, we expected you sooner. Her voice held no anger, no joy, just fact. Vorin bowed slightly. We come to speak, not demand. Mara nodded once. Then speak. They walked to a low building nearby. Inside was a plain room with a round table. Chairs fit every body type. Water, air filters, nutrient packs waited. Simple hospitality. The delegates sat. Mara and Rao took places opposite. Tharok Val spoke first. His voice stayed low. Our systems fail. Your designs hold them together. We ask to resume cooperation. We offer full trade rights, shared control of the nebula, seats on the council for humans again. Mara listened without interrupting. When he finished, she looked at each face in turn. You excluded us, she said simply. You called us juveniles, unpredictable. You built walls. We respected those walls. We withdrew, completely. We were wrong. Fear blinded us. We see now what you gave. We need your help to survive. Mara's eyes stayed calm. Need is different from want. You wanted us gone. We gave you that. Grix the Fex clicked his mandibles softly. Many small worlds suffer most. Children go cold. Farms fail without power. Please, not for pride, for life. Mara looked at him longest. Something softened in her face for a moment. Then it passed. We do not wish death, she said. We never did. But we will not return to the old way. Where our work is used, our voices ignored, our people dismissed. Rao leaned forward. We left a list. Every system, every date, when each reaches final failure without us. He placed a small data crystal on the table. It glowed faintly. You have it already, Mara continued. You know the clock runs down. We will not restart it for promises. Voron's crystals dimmed further. What will it take? The runes stayed quiet, except for the soft hum of air filters. Proof, she said. Real change, not words, not seats, not shares. You must show you value partnership, not just our tools. Tharok Val frowned. How? Start small, Mara answered. Open one trade lane. No permits, no delays. Let our ships move freely again. Share one station. Full access, no restrictions. Let our people live on your worlds without fear. Then we talk more. Silene asked, and if we do? Then we send teams. Not to fix everything at once. To teach, to repair, to rebuild trust, step by step. Voron looked at his companions. No one spoke against it. We will take this back, he said. We will vote. Mara nodded. Vote carefully. Time is short. The meeting ended without handshakes. No grand speeches. The delegates walked back to their ship in silence. It vanished into orbit without a trace. On the return journey, The cruiser felt heavier. Tharok Val stared at star charts. Silene floated in thought. Crix clicked his mandibles over and over. Vorin stood at the viewport and watched Sol shrink behind them. When they reached Valor Prime, the chamber waited. Delegates filled every seat. Many looked thin. Many looked afraid. Vorin stood at the center. "They do not refuse," he said. "They demand proof." He explained the terms. Open lanes, shared stations, free movement, step by step. Voices rose at once. "Too much," Adraxi shouted. "We cannot risk it," a Vorun added. "They hold us hostage," another said. Crix stepped forward. His small body shook. "They do not hold weapons. They hold absence. Absence kills slower than lasers, but it kills." The chamber fell quiet. Silene spoke next. "We taught them we could not be trusted. Now they teach us the same lesson." Voron raised his hand. "We vote tomorrow. Think tonight." That night, light stayed low across the galaxy. Reactors coughed. Grids flickered. In hospitals, machines beeped warnings. In homes, children asked why the heat was gone. On Earth, Mara stood on her balcony again. Stars filled the sky. Rao joined her. "Will they agree?" he asked. "Some will," she said. "Some won't. But the ones who suffer most will push." She looked at the quiet Sol system. "We built for a galaxy that wanted us. Now they must want us again. Not our machines, us." Far away, on Valor Prime, a single crystal in the Great Hall cracked with a soft snap. No one heard it, but the sound traveled through the silence like a warning. The council would vote, and whatever they chose, the galaxy would never be the same. Years passed after the delegation left Earth. Not many, but enough for the galaxy to change in ways no one could ignore. The vote on Valor Prime had been close. Some species wanted to fight the terms. Others wanted to accept them at once. In the end, fear won. They opened one hyperspace lane. They cleared one small station near the Tyros Nebula for joint use. They removed permits for human visitors on 5 border worlds. Small steps. Careful steps. At first, nothing happened. No human ships appeared. No teams arrived with tools and smiles. The lanes stayed empty. The station lights burned for no one. On the border worlds, guards waited at gates that no one crossed. Then, slowly, things began. A single human freighter slipped into the open lane. Plain gray hull. No flags, no bright lights. It carried food packs, medical supplies, and spare parts for the nearest failing grid. The crew did not speak much. They unloaded crates, checked manifests, and left. No speeches. No demands. The supplies reached a cold mining colony on Draxi territory. Workers opened the boxes. Inside they found coils tuned exactly for their old reactors. Enzyme baths for Vorun amplifiers. Crystal stabilizers matched to Kalith frequencies. Everything labeled in simple standard. Everything ready to install. No human stayed to watch. They just left the crates and went back to the jump point. Word spread fast. More ships came. Not many. Never crowds. Small groups. Engineers who spoke little. They fixed one reactor here. One beacon there. They taught local techs the routines. They showed how to run the updates. They left manuals, printed on tough paper. Then they left. The galaxy started to breathe again. Lights came back on in hospitals. Heat returned to homes. Ships moved without drifting. Translation cores learned new words once more. The Tyros Nebula drill spun faster with human-tuned controls. Output climbed. Not to old levels yet, but higher. Delegates watched from Valor Prime. The chamber felt warmer now. Crystals shone brighter, but the mood stayed quiet. Tharok Val stood at his bench one day and looked at the empty human seat. "They come back," he said, "but not like before." Silene floated nearby. Her thoughts moved slow and heavy. They come as guests, not as members, not yet. Voron's voice chimes soft. They wait for us to prove we learned. Across the stars, life changed in small ways. On Alirath Ocean City, children swam under repaired tidal generators. The waves felt steady again. Mothers told stories of the quiet humans who fixed the machines and left without asking thanks. On Feck's hive ships, young ones learned new navigation tricks from human datapads. The elders watched and nodded. Not chains. Even on Drax Prime, warriors lowered their voices when human repair teams passed through yards. The teams worked side by side with Draxi welders. No orders, no insults, just work. When a job finished, the humans shook hands, simple gesture, and moved to the next task. But not everything healed fast. Some systems stayed broken. Old grids too far gone, lost colonies too deep in dark. The council sent teams to search. Sometimes they found survivors, sometimes only empty stations drifting silent. In quiet moments, delegates remembered the day the humans walked out. No anger, no threats, just footsteps, fading down the ramp. They remembered the black cube that spoke one word, too late. They remembered how the galaxy almost forgot how to live without the small, steady hands that kept it running. Now those hands returned, but carefully, one task at a time, one trust earned at a time. Mara Lin still lived in New Shanghai. She walked the streets every morning. People nodded to her. Children ran past with stories of the fixers from the stars. She smiled sometimes, not wide, just enough. Rao joined her one evening on the balcony. The sky stayed clear. Stars looked close. They accept the help, he said. They accept the lesson, Mara answered. She looked out at the quiet Sol system. Ships moved again. Not many. Enough. Do you think they will ever ask us to rejoin the council? Rao asked. Mara thought for a long time. Maybe, she said, when they stop seeing us as tools, when they see us as equals, when they understand that partnership is not weakness. She paused. Until then, we stay here. We fix what we can. We teach what we know, and we wait. Far away on Valor Prime, the Great Hall held a small ceremony. No crowds, no speeches, just a few delegates, and a single human engineer who had come to tune the last crystal matrix. The engineer finished his work. The matrix glowed strong and clear. Lights rose across the spires. Warmth filled the chamber. Elder Voron stepped forward. His crystals chimed, soft and steady. Thank you, he said, simple words. The engineer nodded once. You're welcome. He packed his tools. He walked to the exit ramp. No rush, no glance back. At the door he stopped. He turned. When you are ready, he said, send a message. Not for help. For talk. Real talk. Then he left. The doors closed behind him. Inside the hall, silence lasted a long time. Therak Val looked at the floor. Silene's thoughts drifted quiet. Voron stared at the empty seat. They understood now. Remorse had come late. But not too late for everything. The galaxy still turned. Reactors hummed. Ships flew. Worlds lived. And somewhere in the quiet spaces between stars, humans waited. Not in anger. Not in pride. In clarity. They had withdrawn once. They would not need to withdraw again. Because the council had finally learned what silence could teach, and what presence could rebuild.